Right. Hello, hello. How is everyone doing tonight? We're going to be terraforming and building a custom farm here on Estancia Patio using the brand new terraforming tool. So for those of you who haven't really had a chance to play about with it, we'll be kind of going through some of the good basic bits. And this is a good map to terraform because it's not too uneven. There's not a lot of elevation change in it. And the changes that are in the map are generally quite subtle. So it's not a mass, monstrosity of huge hills that require hugely expensive terraforming options that need to be taken. So first off, let's just get rid of this farm storage slap bang in the middle. There we go. Now I've done this on new farmer mode simply because I want the original silos. It's so frustrating that we only get those on new farmer and that the placeable silos don't fit in this space. So by going new farmer, we get to keep the original silos. We've got rid of everything else apart from the farmhouse. That's still there, but I've just cleared the storage out. All the vehicles are gone. I have already gone ahead, bought a load of land for our farm, and also got a nice little bit of cash. So you can see I've got a lot of land to work with going forward, but that's for another day. Today it's going to be all about getting this farm up and running. So let's get started, first of all, with some very easy, simple stuff. I want to get rid of this big block of concrete just here. So let's go into sculpting first of all. I want to make sure that all the ground is going to be nice and smooth before we do too much. So using the right stick and pressing down on the right analog stick changes the size of my tool here. Now you've got a circular tool which gives you much more sort of freedom of freehand movement. You also have a square tool which is much more grid based, as you can see, so it's much easier for straight lines like that. I'm going to pick a spot sort of about here, and I'm just going to hold down the R1 button for flatten, and I'm just going to drag this around and just make sure that this area is nice and flat. This is going to be the first main part of our farm. And you'll see as we're dragging this through, I'll zoom in so you can see, we're actually removing the fruit from the ground. So those bits of grass disappearing, and you can just see the ground stepping up a little bit along the edge of the dirt track there as we drag the tool across. So there we go, nice clean smooth edge. I'll do the same up this side as well. I'm trying not to get too close to the dirt track because the minute we start changing the elevation on that area, that dirt track will disappear. So I'm trying to stay away from that if I can. There is a little dent just to the top right corner of the green triangle. You might not see it very clearly, but it is there. And that now has smoothed it out. And you can see as we're moving this around and just smoothing out all of this terrain, areas that we've already smoothed, nothing happens on the money. But as we start to move up to here, you can see that the money, where it needs to flatten the ground out to the same level, is changing ever so slightly. So most of this ground is already pretty flat. This bit here, a little bit raised, so you can see the money's going down a bit faster. And that terrain is changing a little bit. But there we go. So we've got a nice flat section there. Let's flatten this out as best we can up here as well. Make sure that's all nice and smooth. There we go, and you can see we're actually eating into the ground a little bit there. That's fine, we can smooth those little edges out a little bit later. I have to say, I have played about with this terraforming tool and I am very impressed with exactly what we can and can't do. It all seems very logical, very straightforward, but it all works very, very nicely. So let's see who is in the chat. Loads of you in at the moment. Well, let's go. Gabe, Ben, Irish Farmer, James, Bryce, Sean, Wyatt, Dakota, Martin. Loads of you guys in there. Aussie Tank saying play more Subnautica. I've put out 4 episodes in the last 2 days, including today. There's plenty more Subnautica coming, so don't worry about that. You know, just because I've had a little bit of a break from FS19 with the patch problems for PS4 Pros, those videos will start coming out again in the next day or two. But I was filling the gap with some Subnautica, so there's plenty of content on the channel for Subnautica to keep you going, and more will be coming out every day as well. So we flattened this area out. So now I want to kind of get rid of this concrete block, and I also want to get rid of this grass texture here as well. So we're going to switch across to painting. So I need to press L3 to switch to paint mode, and if I press left and right, you can see that I can change through the various different paint textures. This is the dirt texture, which is the one that is used for this ground. So I'm just going to paint over the concrete, nice and simple like that. Same again with this grass texture over here. Just going to paint over that as well. And keep the line as straight as I can. There we go. And we have a really nice big open area to work with. What we'll also do is we'll be working on this, because we do have some elevation change in here. We have a lot of grass and something up over here. So this is going to be a kind of a cattle ranch area just over here. So let's start off by getting some placeables. And we want to look at animal pens. And this is the large cow pasture. It's quite big, as you can see. It takes up quite a bit of space. And it's up to us how we want to place this and where exactly we want to place this. Now, what I also want to do is I want to put some storage buildings around this area as well for our bits of equipment that are going to be used. So what I'm thinking is that before we go too far into that, let's go into sheds. And I want a small machine shed up here in this corner. So that we can store some of that equipment that we're going to need. Things like water trucks and mixers and all that kind of stuff. So let's get that kind of positioned about where we want it. Just there. And again, it's automatically put down a concrete base around the shed. And I don't want that base there. I want to keep that nice and dirt coloured. The concrete base on the interior can't be transformed, but this exterior can. So we're going to just paint over that. And we're just going to remove the concrete surround on this building here, like that. Just kind of push up, spin around to clean up this back edge as well. And then do the same across here. Oops, I took out a little bit of grass there that I didn't want to take out. Never mind, we can put that back in. There we go. So we've now got rid of that concrete sort of painted texture around the base of the building, but you can see inside it still has the concrete base. That's part of the model. So let's run over, just open the door up and have a little peek inside. And there we go. That looks really nice, I think. Having the concrete base on the interior of the building and then just having the kind of the dirt on the outside like this. And if we wanted to, we could actually paint a little bit of a concrete facade around the edge if we wanted to. I personally don't particularly want it there, which is why I've done it like that. So now that we've done that, let's put in the first of our cow pastures. I want a large cow pasture. And let's see, which way round do I want this to go? I'm thinking I want that about here. I want to make sure there's space to get in between the building and the area itself. This is going to be a little bit tricky to place in exactly where I want it, and I don't want to get too close with the boxes on the bottom for the troughs. I don't want to get too close to the dirt track because again it will eat up and remove that dirt track texture. I think what I'm going to do actually is we're going to reposition where that machine shed is a little bit. So again we need to kind of just get rid of that dirt texture or that concrete texture, and I'm actually going to flatten the area out a little bit better so we can push that shed a little bit further into the hillside. So let's get the sculpting tool again. Let's increase our tool size a little bit. Let's hold R1 to flatten and just push that a little bit more. Flatten that bit out there. Just eke it down just a touch. There we go. I think that should hopefully be big enough. Let's try putting that shed back in again. And then we can get right up into the corner now. There we go. So that gives us a little bit more space up against this side. It's not such a big gap around here now, whereas it was before. So once again, I want to get rid of that concrete base. So I'll paint that off here. And we'll use a small tool to really do the edges around the back to try and get that fine-tuned control. So let's really shrink that tool down to its smallest possible size. This is where it gets a bit tricky when the camera... This is why I really want that camera collision mod, because it really does make things so much easier when the camera doesn't start pitching a fit all over the place. And there we go. And we've got a nice little bit of a side path here for this doorway. So if we wanted to actually put in a pathway, for example, a gravel pathway like this, then we could do. We have the ability to do that now, but I don't want to just yet. Maybe later. Maybe we'll put something in a bit later. Let's leave it just clean dirt for now. So now that we've got that moved into a better position, let's try putting the animal pen down again. Zoom out. And that gives us a bit more freedom as to where we can place this. I want to make sure that I'm far enough away from the dirt road, but I've got enough space to actually get in between the shed and the milk area for this particular cow pasture. So let's plonk that down there. And we did actually, damn it, we did actually get rid of our dirt road there. Okay, so we can correct that. We can't put the dirt road back in, but we can get rid of the other little bit of the dirt road. So let's go to landscaping. I'm going to go back to sculpting. I'm going to have a small-ish brush, that size, and I'm going to flatten, and I'm just going to wipe out the dirt track along here as best I can. Obviously, if it's at the same height, then it won't disappear completely, which appears to be the case here. Yeah, that little bit won't disappear, but never mind. So, we have this really ugly grass patch all the way around the edge here, which just looks horrible. That's one of the biggest disappointments I had with the placeable system, was it sticking this ugly patch of grass around every placeable that you drop down. Well, now we can get rid of those. So, again, we'll go back to painting. We're going to clear off this ugly and unnecessary grass border all the way around the edge here. Let's try and zoom out a bit so I can see a little bit clearer. Let's take all of that out. All the way along there. And through there as well. That nasty little bit on the edge there. Let's get rid of that too. But we can keep the grass on the interior if we want to, which I think I probably will do. Haven't quite decided yet. I'm also going to get rid of this little bit of concrete around here as well. You can just see there's a faint line of concrete smudging around the base of the building here. We're going to get rid of that too. Now that does impact on the interior, so if we change to a smaller tool, as the smallest we can go, let's try and put that concrete back in, and hopefully, if we're careful, we can get away with it. Not quite there. It is a very fiddly thing to do with this terraforming, and you do get kind of mixed results sometimes. I do highly recommend, if you're doing terraforming for the first time like this and painting and stuff, that you save your progress on a pretty regular basis once you're happy with how you've got something done. And then once you start to do the next thing, you can then look at putting that back in again. So we've got a little bit that's just going to stick out there. Let me try switching to the other tool. Oops. See if I can get a little bit closer. We are putting down the wrong texture. That's the one I want. See if I can get that a little bit closer. It doesn't look like it's going to let me do it without bleeding through. Yeah, it's going to bleed through. That's a touch unfortunate. But we can still clean this area off a little bit. Again, let's just try and get rid of that bit of grass that doesn't need to be there. We'll rework on the interior a little bit. Just trying to get rid of that touch of concrete. There we go. Let's get rid of this bit of grass here. And this bit of grass up here as well. Switch back to the square tool for this one. There we go. Again, there's no need for this little bit of grass to be here, so we can get rid of that. Like so. And let's take out that little bit of grass there as well. So already this is looking much, much neater in the sense that it looks like it fits a lot better now. We've got a little bit of grass in here. We could even get rid of that grass if we wanted to, but we'll leave it as is for now. I'm going to get rid of this bit of grass here too, because again, it looks silly. It has no real purpose. So we'll clean that out. And let's switch over to a square tool. Let's try and clean off this edge a little bit better. There we go. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that concrete completely. It just feels a little out of place. So there we go. A little concretey area has gone. There's a tiny little patch just there. Look, let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of the concrete interior as well. Let's just go with a dirt interior. We can always come back and apply some kind of change to the interior. I am thinking of maybe going for more of a sort of a sludgy, muddy kind of colour in here, to indicate maybe ground that's been soaked with manure, perhaps. There we go. And we've got a little patch there for straw, by the look of it. So that is our first little area that we've built over here. We've got a nice little shed. We've got ourselves a cow pasture. We've cleaned the borders up. We've got a nice little bit of grass for them to graze on in here. But again, if it looks a bit out of place, we can get rid of that. So let's start adding in some more stuff. Now, I want this to be a big cow farm. So I want a second cow pasture. Let's see, where can I comfortably fit a second one of these that isn't going to impact and I'm not 100% confident I can get this in where I want it. Maybe there. Again, that's going to get rid of those dirt path tracks. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Let's consider that as perhaps a blessing. So let's see, can we square up these edges? Square up these sheds, perhaps. That's not too bad. That leaves us a little bit of space between each shed. Yeah, let's do that. Let's drop that there. Oh, and it's actually kept the dirt path. I'm surprised at that. I thought that would have gone even better. So let's now paint this area out as well. I will be having a look at some of your comments in a moment. I know you guys have been chatting away. I haven't had the chance to look at them yet, but I will start looking at some of your questions in a moment, so do bear with me. Just kind of want to make a little bit of a start on this. Cleaning up these edges. Let's go to a smaller tool. There we go. Same on this edge. Try and get straight. There we go. One thing I've always kind of not really liked about this map is its insistence on having these random patches of just a green texture. It's mainly kind of obvious over here, and there's just no grass on them. They're just flat bits of texture that just look horrible. If you don't like those, like me, it's not a problem anymore. You can just paint over them like that and just get rid of what you consider to potentially be ugly eyesore strips of non-existent grass that you can't really do anything with. Right, so I want to get rid of this as well. Close the tool down a bit smaller. Take that section out. And I'm trying to make sure that the grass itself sits inside the fence post. It's perhaps a bit more extreme than I was planning on just there, but everything still kind of operates on a bit of a grid system. So sometimes you can't quite get that fine control that you really, really want. You have to kind of just make allowances for that. Got a little bit around the edge and I can't really do anything about that. I can't get in there unless I go really, really small. I might be able to. Yes, I can if I go really small. Let's try the same along here. There we go. Clean up this corner here. Tree in the way, can't see what I'm doing. Just take that little bit off the corner there as well. There we go. Take out all of that section and then take out this section here as well. Step inside, we can clean out this with a bigger tool. Careful not to push out too far. And there we go. We have a second cowshed in place with a grass area on the inside and then nothing else in the way. No ugly grass borders that sit there for no reason. No blobby bits of concrete that look a little bit out of place. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Two paddocks quite nicely pushed together. A little bit of storage space just here. I suppose we could have potentially pushed that further forward, right up against the edge here, and then maybe perhaps stuck another shed in just here, but I think that's okay. And it gives us good access from along here into this area, and we could maybe stick a workshop up here. It leaves space for some future mods as well, perhaps. So I'm quite happy with that right now. So before we move on to the next area, which is going to be this bit down here, I'm going to start having a look through some of the comments that you guys have been leaving and see if I can answer any questions that have been popping up. Aussie Tank says this mod has been buggy for me. Which mod are you talking about? Are you talking about the shed building, or are you talking about terraforming? I mean, terraforming is actually part of the base game, so it's not really a mod. In fact, the only thing that is on this map that's a mod at the moment is that little shed that I placed. Ah, yeah, the shed mod, yes. I haven't had any issues with it in terms of bugginess, but I have found that it's a little low down, so there's only smallish equipment that can get in there. You start getting up to the bigger stuff and it just won't get through the height of the door. Jean-Luc says, if you're terraforming, turn off autosave. Yes, definitely. Turn off autosave, because you will live to regret it if you don't. You might be absolutely fine with something you've done, and then you might make a mistake, and guaranteed that one mistake, the second you press start, will immediately create an autosave and make that change permanent. So yeah, turn off autosave when you're terraforming. That way, if you do screw up badly, you can roll back to when you last made a custom save and pick up where you left off from that point and undo all those changes. Rasping Rabbit says he's waiting for me to realise how much this is costing. Yeah, terraforming is expensive, but this is a custom map, and you know, I've got a lot of land, so it doesn't matter the cost in this. I'm just trying to show some of the things that you can do with terraforming. Jefferson says hello from Brazil. Hello, Jefferson. Terry says this really needs an undo button. Yeah, I can see that. But I think it becomes a little bit too complicated to try and start adding in undo functions on top of everything else as well. So I think, as I say, just be careful with your saves and turn off your autosave and you should be fine. So we are almost completely skint again. We have 12 grand left, having put in our 2 big expensive sheds for the cows, putting in our little equipment shed, doing a little bit of terraforming and painting. The terraforming itself and painting hasn't been too expensive. It's been the sheds at 300k each that's been the biggest drain of our finances. So let's start raising some capital. We have a lot of land to borrow against. So let's get up to about 750 grand. That should be enough for the next bit. There we go. So it's time to start landscaping, and what I want to do is I want to build our storage area and sheds over in this plot of land over here, because then we've got a nice easy access point just here. We've got a direct route to our silos, to our farm animals over here, coming off this exit here. We've also got this kind of rampy entrance over here, the Welcome to Estancia La Pacho ranch sign up there leading to the main house. But this, I think, is a good area for us to put sheds and stuff in. So we need to flatten all of this land out. So let's go with a big size tool. And we also want to switch over to sculpting. We want to find a flattish point about here and hold down R1 and flatten. And instantly that removes the fruit underneath us. So that gets rid of any shrubs. It gets rid of the grass itself. And we're just looking to flatten out this area over here. So I don't want to go too deep that way, but I do want to go kind of up quite high this way, because I want to get close to the silo itself. So there's our kind of start point. I'm going to drag this line across very carefully, very slowly, cutting into the hill. Straighten that line out a bit. There we go. Pull this down a bit more. Now I'm doing this with a square tool, but of course you could do this with a round tool to get more angled edges if you wanted to, and go a bit more freeform like that. And I also want to try and flatten out this area over here without damaging this bit here, and also we can't modify the terrain too much there either. So let's just flatten out that little lip just there. There we go. So we have our nice flattened area. So let's start looking to put down our base color. So again, we want the dirt. I'm going to switch back to a square tool, go nice and big for this, and paint this around here. Just carefully drag this across. And one thing I've noticed as well is the way that this flashes green against the red background. Sometimes it makes me feel like I'm watching a really bad 3D movie on the edge of the paint tool as it moves and chugs across that, and you see that kind of red-green kind of effect. It looks a little bit weird at times. And then we'll just round this off a bit. There we go. So we've got a nice big open area over here that we can now start to really develop a little bit better. So we want to go back into placeables. And I want a big shed for trucks and other stuff to go in here. So let's try and line up against the square edge. Now this is obviously going to put down a concrete base, which I will be removing. And look at that, the terrain isn't quite enough. It's a little bit wider than I thought it would be. So let's go back into the terraforming. I just want to stretch this down a little bit more. Let's shrink the tool down a bit for a bit more fine control. And flatten this out just a touch more. Oh, that's painting still. There we go, sculpting. Just flatten that out a little bit more along there. Let's check our spacing, make sure that that is what we need. Yes, that's enough space. Excellent stuff. So let's use that straight edge that we've created to place our feet of the shed. That looks pretty straight to me. I'm going to plonk that just there. There we go. And if we make our way over on foot, yeah, bye-bye Elon. After multiple attempts to put the N-word out there, he came out with something that YouTube actually allowed, but, you know, I won't stand for racist chat in the comments. Right. Where was I? Yes. Terraforming. So, we've sculpted. Let's paint again. Put that base in. Get rid of the concrete underneath. Let's try and zoom in so we can actually see what we're doing in here. Again, keeping the speed nice and slow so I've got control for keeping a straight line. Tidy that edge up in a minute. Clean that out. And you can see that the concrete has overlapped onto the grass a little bit. We can clean that up. That's not a major issue. There we go. So let's do the same along here as well. Let's clean this edge. Get rid of those bits of concrete there. And the most expensive part of our terraforming is now done in this area because we've sculpted the hills. There will still be a little bit of expense involved in pushing forward. This is why I really don't like this camera. I cannot wait for them to finally give us the camera collision mod. It just makes it so hard to see what you're doing when you get anywhere close to the edge of a building. You end up doing damage that you don't want to do, like that. You just can't help it. That's quite a severe little embankment, but we can smooth that out. So let's just go ahead and get everything else placed first. So we've got our big shed there for trucks and truck trailers and so on and so forth. Let's see what other placeables we can put down. I would like one of these really big sheds in here as well. Have I got enough space? Not quite. I'm going to need to kind of bring that out a bit more, I think. Sort of to this area here. So that's obviously going to do a fair bit of terraforming in its entirety. We could just use the base game terraforming like that and raise and lower the height. Let's try and get this positioned a little bit better. Try and minimize just how much of that we want to do. That might work. Again, I want to try and make sure I've got a clean, straight edge. There we go, that looks pretty clean. And now it's not letting me deform the terrain. There we go. So we've got a little bit too close to the silo there. Have I got enough space to get things in and out of the shed? Yes, I think I do. So let's plonk that there, like that. And again, we've got that concrete base around the outside. We'll be getting rid of that. I want to open this area out a little bit more for a workshop and a fuel tank. So let's switch over to sculpting. Let's just flatten this area out a touch more. There we go, and let's paint that. Let's try and drag that edge around a little bit. There we go. Let's clear out all that bit around there. And we've got one of those random little grass tufts over here by the silo. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Yes, there we go. Just a random little bit of grass on the side there. That's gone. Right, there we go. There's more edge that needs to be cleaned up here, and we need a smaller tool for that as well. So let's try and battle the camera to get rid of these last little bits of concrete. Having to fight the camera at all the way along here. It's just really frustrating. There we go. So we've kind of got a little bit of an uneven edge. I mean, it's not too bad. It looks a little bit hokey in places. Let's maybe see if we can improve that ever so slightly. It's not too bad. So we've got a nice little bay in this area here. So we've got space for a workshop, which is in miscellaneous. Let's get the workshop placed about here, I think. I could possibly stick it along there, or even there. I mean, it's a bit of a tight area, so some equipment might be awkward getting in and out of here, but I think we should be okay. I kind of want to put the fuel tank in next to it as well. Let's see, where's the icon? I can't obscure the icon. That should do. We place that just there. And then let's get a fuel tank in as well. And let's put the fuel tank. Let's see. Not sure which way round is the best way round for the fuel tank. Might be that we're putting it in the wrong way round here. Would kind of like that to sit quite close to the workshop if I can. Yeah, let's put the fuel tank there. And then we can get a pressure washer in there as well. Next to our shed, kind of like a maintenance bay kind of deal. Spin that around. There we go. Let's do a little bit of painting. Get rid of this concrete. The two-tone concrete effect. Get rid of all of that. There we go. And there we go. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. But we have a nice little area over here. There's space for another shed to go over here, which we'll probably put in a moment. Big storage building there for large vehicles. Nice, good shed size here for smaller stuff. Seeders, etc. Auger bins. Little maintenance bay over here. We could even potentially put something else in there going forward. What else can we fit in that little gap, though, shed-wise? See, I'm thinking one of these sitting here would look quite good. Which means we would need to do a little bit more terraforming to make that happen. So let's do that. Let's go to sculpting. Zoom in a touch. Let's get a bigger tool. And let's flatten a bit further in. Like that. Is that going to be enough? Let's go in a little bit more. And you can see that these changes are a fair bit more expensive because we're actually moving quite a little bit of dirt compared to where we were earlier. And let's go with the easy shed. Is that going to fit in that area? Oh, just about perfectly. Look at that. It's a little bit iffy because it's close to the silo. There we go. That's going to fit beautifully. We've got that concrete that goes up the back. Again, that's a bit... but we can get rid of that. So let's paint over the concrete. Do a big tool first of all, and then as we want to do the fine-tuning stuff, we'll shrink that down just to make things a little bit better, a little bit more fine control. It's by no means a perfect system, the new terraforming tool, but it is very, very good. And it's the closest that we have on console to Giant's editor for map making. So if you have the time and the patience, you could dramatically transform a stock map to whatever you wanted it to be, you know, within reason. Obviously, you're going to be limited by certain things. You can't get rid of roads, you can't remove railways, things like that, or at least I haven't tried removing a railway. So there are going to be limitations to what you can do, but by the same token, you know, a map that has a specific look for one player could end up having a very, very different look for someone else. It depends just how much time, effort, and energy you want to put into terraforming and creating something unique, something special that's only you have got. That is one of the things that I really do love about this terraforming tool. We've been talking for years now about wanting to be able to create our own farms, and this, coupled with the placeable system, which at launch was a bit flawed and still is a little bit iffy in places, but combining it with this terraforming tool, this makes it a brilliant way to create a custom farm. I mean, look at that. We just carved out a huge section there and put in a really nice depot here. But we do have these really awkward, kind of ridged spacings like this. So we're going to deal with those again in just a moment. This is another chance for me to turn my attention back to the chat and have a look at some of your questions and comments. Adrian asks, am I going to play with this map? Once I've got it set up, at some point I'm going to make this a playable map, and I'm going to try every now and again, maybe not all the every week, but I'm going to try and open it up for multiplayer for you guys to jump in and join me. So I'm not going to be building just this farm. I'm going to build a second farm somewhere else on the map, and I'm going to open this up as a multiplayer map. Every now and again, internet and time permitting. Bear in mind that anyone outside of the UK that tries to join is almost certainly going to have some lag in some way, shape or form. Maybe a little bit. I will post more details on that once I've actually finished working on this map. But we won't get it all done today. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But, yeah, I do hopefully plan to play this online, both for live streaming and also getting some of you guys on to help out from time to time as well. Is there a way to raise the camera when we zoom into paint? No, we can't change the camera. It zooms in like that when we zoom in, and it raises up when we zoom out. We can't change the elevation of the camera, unfortunately. That's automatic as part of the zoom. So we can pan left and right, but we can't change the elevation. It's always been that way. It's not new to 19. That's something that's been there from 15 onwards. Maybe even before that. I've been playing since 15. So, right. Mad Dog keeps saying episode 28. Episode 28 of what? Are you talking about Felsbrunn? Felsbrunn will be returning in the next couple of days. I have a PS4 Pro. The last patch wasn't kind to PS4 Pros, so I didn't want to record until that was fixed. That patch went live today, so I'll start recording episodes for Felsbrunn again tomorrow. So they should be up the day after that. So 2 days' time, you'll get some Felsbrunn back. Yes, Martin, that was the lighter you heard. Terry raises a good point as well. He says, because you can pretty much erase fields with terraforming, you can create your own field shape and size. And it's something that I was talking about on an episode of Felsbrunn a while back. It's something I wanted since Farming Sim 17, was a map that didn't necessarily have pre-cut fields like this. It just had land like this, just grassland like this, that we had to then kind of plough and cut. And it really does open up the opportunity for us to kind of do that now, to an extent. We can't necessarily make it a great experience in that respect, because although we can cut and reshape our fields quite nicely with a plough, and we can paint beautifully with this new terraforming tool, we can't put grass down. We can only put the underneath texture down. So instead of getting loads and loads of land that looks like this, we'll end up with loads and loads of land that looks like this, just flat, horrible, uninspired grass that just looks naff. Yeah, I mean, it gives you some flexibility. I would love for us to be able to actually put grass down, proper grass down, rather than just the base texture. I don't think we'll be able to do that. I think that potentially opens up some memory usage issues, but it's a shame. But we'll see. Maybe Giants will update it, continue to update the tool as we go along. How do I, Dakota says, how do I get notified about my vids? It stopped working. YouTube is terrible for notifications. My Facebook page, I do post usually every day, not always, sometimes I forget, but I usually post as soon as the video goes live. I link it on my Facebook page. So if you follow my Facebook page, make sure you get all notifications on my Facebook page, then you'll see in your Facebook feed when I post a new video. That's one way of doing it. Same on Twitter as well. Every time a video goes live, it automatically posts it on Twitter. So you could follow me on Twitter. The Facebook link I will type in just a second. There we go. So that's the Facebook web link. And I'll post my Twitter as well. And there's my Twitter. Will you be able to play multiplayer with me? Occasionally, from time to time, I will open my map up. I don't get a lot of time for multiplayer, unfortunately. And I don't have great internet for multiplayer either, at least not for this game. So it tends to be really, really laggy. If I join people, or if people join me, someone gets a lot of lag. But from time to time, I will try and open up for multiplayer. Right. Let's start smoothing out some of these rough patches that we have around the edges, where we've got these very steep banks, especially on this burn just here. So for this, we want the sculpting tool. I'm going to switch to the rounded tool. Although the square one would work, I want the rounded tool. And we're going to increase the tool size a little bit. and I'm going to smooth terrain. So you can see in the control box that means triangle. So just going to start to smooth these edges out a little bit. Try and create a slightly more natural kind of edge to some of these hillsides a little bit. It's not always possible. Sometimes the placement of things will make it difficult, and you do need to be careful that you don't inadvertently raise the terrain underneath something that you were planning to place down and create a really kind of rough edge. You see, it's not letting me actually terraform this bit here. It won't let me smooth it, but it will on this corner here. So I can kind of smooth this out a little bit. And that's not too bad, because it kind of looks like we have cut into the hillside a little bit, which I suppose is what we wanted. So we're just smoothing down this edge here. You can see it's changing in height ever so subtly. You can see it won't let me do it just here though. The shed is a little bit too close, and I think because we have that tree there, it might also be stopping us. We can get rid of bushes, but I don't think we can get rid of trees. Let me see if I can find a tree that out the way that we can experiment with. Let's see. Let's try this tree here. Let's see what happens if I try and flatten out. In fact, let's save before we do anything experimental. Let's make sure we save the game. There we go. So now we can make a change, and if it doesn't work or it screws something up, we can undo it by just reloading the save file. So let's change to a better tool, and let's flatten and see. Yeah, no, we can't terraform around the trees, which is kind of what I expected. So I'm going to undo that change by reloading the file. And it's as if it never happened. What's the update size for PS4? Not big. Not massive. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean the whole game itself is only like 8 gig. So I think maybe somewhere between 500 meg and 1.5 gig, something like that. It won't be a big change, won't be a big update file. Seattle Ninja says, I wish they would let you place more bushes. That's the kind of the thing that you do in Giants Editor, being able to actually place foliage and fruits and stuff. So creating a field and putting the fruit onto the field and putting trees and bushes and rivers and roads and all that stuff. That's Giants Editor. That's a PC thing, and that's more for map building for mod makers. But I mean, we've got, you know, a lot of nice little things that we can do with the terraforming tool that we couldn't do just a few days ago. So, you know, yeah, it has its limitations compared to PC, but compared to previous versions of the game on console, this is, you know, groundbreaking stuff. You know, it's massively changed the way that we can play the game and the way we can build a custom farm. I mean, this was all really hilly grass area a moment ago, and look at it now. It's lovely flat. It's the right dirt texture, the right colour. We've got these sheds cut in quite nicely. Same over here. We've got an area over here where we first started out, where we had that initial placeable that comes in and a concrete base around it. We've got rid of the concrete base and the placeable. We've made a really nice dirt area to match the ground texture. We put in 2 separate cow sheds, cleaned all the stuff around the edges, so we've just got grass on the inside of the cow pasture only. And then put a shed in there as well and made sure it's all flat and level. And you will have noticed, if you've tried to do stuff in this area before without the terraforming tool, somewhere around this sort of area here on the concrete, there was actually a little divot in the ground that stopped you from doing, the old way of putting down like a concrete base that I was doing, where you build a shed, remove it, replace it, build a shed, remove it, and so on and so forth. This makes everything so much better, so much easier, and so much more choice with how we can customize our farms as well, that I absolutely love it like this. Right, let's have a look at the terraforming again. Let's see. Where are we? What else can we do for our custom farm? We've got our cows, we've got a small shed over here. We could maybe put another shed in over here, actually. Let's see if we can squeeze another one in at this end. Let's go with another small one of these. Flip it round. Terrain cannot be deformed. It's a little bit too close to the fence, I think, to allow us to do that. Will it go in anywhere along here? It's a little bit too close to each of these placeables, I think. So, yeah, even along here, it's just not going to let us do it. That's a bit of a shame. It would have been nice to put another shed sort of just there, like that. But, alas, it's not to be. So rather than carving up this terrain for no reason whatsoever, we'll have a look around and see what else we can do. We've got all this area here as well. I will do something with this area at some point when I can figure out what it is. In terms of the actual sheds and equipment layout for the actual yard itself, I'm quite happy with that though. We've got the big silo there. We could look at maybe getting in some extra silos just to increase our storage capacity on this farm. So let's take a look at the silo add-ons. Will these fit? Not with the trees in the way. Now we could perhaps try and put them in here, but again, we've got stuff in the way. I could have perhaps put them just here, but I wanted the shed just there instead. So we can look at in the future at maybe chopping down a couple of trees. You can see if I can get the position about right. I think it flashed green for a second a moment ago. Yeah, the trees here are stopping us. We're colliding with an object. But there's no reason why we couldn't take some of these trees out manually with a chainsaw and then put these silos along here. And then once they're in, they'll have a concrete base. Again, we can go in and we can clean those up. Get rid of the green, the concrete, and maybe put a green base around, or just put dirt around them. Whatever we want to do. So instead, let's look at a future expansion site. Now, I want to build a second farm somewhere up here. There's a lot of trees in the way, and these have to be manually cut down. Unfortunately, there is no way to quickly remove these yet. We don't have the Rabot Xylor on Farming Sim 19 yet to easily and instantly remove trees. And these type of palm trees do not work with the tree harvesters. So either the Scorpion King or the Komatsu equivalent. Neither of those will work on these trees. You'll have to manually cut them down, and that's a lot of trees. But given there's a lime station here and there's a big tranche of land just here, this would be a great area to kind of turn into a farm. Another area where I'm thinking of creating a farm is over here. And then there's no reason why we couldn't actually build a yard in this area over here. So I think my second farm might be up here. And then that would give access to stuff this side of the railway as fields for the second farm to work. Maybe even put a small farm in over here, perhaps. Again, we've got a little shed building kind of thing here with a giant water tower. There's no reason why we couldn't put in some kind of small shed area over here along the ruins. There's options and ideas for additional locations for farms. There's another one over here as well, look. You could maybe use that as a staging point to create another little farm, and we could do something with this area of ground over here. even with that windmill, which I've just noticed is spinning. That's cool. I like that. So yeah, this area here would be quite good for creating a small little yard. There's all sorts of little areas, and this tool really does open up all sorts of possibilities as to how we want to go about customizing and creating our farms. Don't like these concrete bases in here? Get rid of them. You can repaint over the top of them with the new painting tool. All sorts of wonderful little things that we can do. I think for now, in terms of work on this part of the yard, we're pretty much kind of done. I do want to just see if I can smooth out the edges around here a little bit more, though. Perhaps they are a little bit steep. Just here, look, quite rough. So let's try and smooth those out a little bit. Let's go with a large-ish kind of tool and try and smooth these out a bit. Just a little bit. You can see that we're kind of killing off our grass a little bit. And this is what I was talking about here. If you can, I don't know if you can just see it. We are slightly raising this little bit of land here. You can see there the way the ground goes up and then comes down again. If you get too close to the land, you will start to terraform that up like that around the edges of some of the placeables. So you do need to kind of be a little bit careful when you start messing around with smoothing, because you can have some unintended side effects. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So we've got this kind of grass texture. I wonder if grass is going to grow on that. I personally don't think it will, but we'll see. So now that the farm itself is kind of created, we haven't got much money left. Let's start looking at getting some equipment in to go into our custom farm. We're going to want a truck for hauling stuff on this map. And, you know, I really do like the Warrior. I know it's not the most powerful truck, but I like the front mirrors. I like the way it drives. It's not too big for tight turns. We'll go with the Warrior. And I'm going to stick it in... What colour shall I go with? I'm thinking a white truck. Yeah, we'll go with a white truck. I'm going to need some trailers. So where is trailers there? Let's go with the largest pace setter trailer. And I like the stainless steel look. So I'll buy one of those. Let's get those over to the yard itself. And my farmer decked out in case gear for this map. A case red shirt, a case cap, and some sunglasses, because it is very bright and sunny in this part of the world. Especially when we're driving very reflective aluminum trailers. And for all you Americans there, I called it aluminum, not aluminium. Just for you guys. Whoops, I went in a little bit too hot there. We're kind of wedged. There we go, that's a bit better. Make our way in through here. We've got easy access to the silo. Easy access to the sheds. Get the trailer reversed in quite nicely. I'm still waiting for a release date, a confirmed release date for Truck Driver. Sedesco's still keeping very tight-lipped about that. I think it's almost certainly not going to happen this year now. It would have been announced in some way, shape or form by now if it was coming out as originally planned in Q4. There's only a few days left of this quarter. So that game's got to be coming at some point next year now. I would imagine maybe possibly January, more likely February, March time. It would be nice. Moss Frog is in the chat. Hey, I don't understand why Giants have refused still to put that into the base game. Because so many people complain about the camera having collisions. I don't know why they don't just add it in and make it a toggleable option so people can use it or not use it at their choice. It just seems so stupid that it's not included. Too many people moaning and complaining for them to just ignore, apparently, you would have thought, but at the same by the same token, apparently not. They're quite happy to ignore people. Let's see. I want to go with a big case combine for this farm, I think. It's expensive. I'm going to have to really stretch the loan debt on this. I'll probably go in and repay off a load of this loan with some sneaky multiplayer mod money at some point, so I can continue doing more terraforming and more landscaping and so on and so forth. Maybe next patch. No, like I said, it's a mod. Giants won't put it in the base game, and I don't know why they don't. We'll have to wait for it to come out as a mod on the mod hub to disable camera collisions. Frustrating. That's what they did with 17 as well. You know, they just refused to put that in there as an actual camera option. So I would have thought they'd have learned from that this time around, but no, they didn't. Let's go with big Michelins. And the Draper. Tiny says hello. Hello, Tiny. Yeah, PC apparently already has a camera collision mod. I don't know why it's taken so long to get that onto consoles. I'm trying to remember who actually made the camera mod for Farming Sim 17. If anyone actually has 17 open right now and wants to check, that would be awesome. I can't remember if that was actually an official Giants mod or if it was a mod by a third party. Big old case combine. I still miss, you know, I really enjoyed on the 9230 on Farm Sim 17 being able to put twin wheels on the front of the 9230. I miss that now that it's no longer an option. We can only change the rear wheels from Trelleborgs to Michelins, and we just have the track as standard. Jean-Luc says it was an official Giants mod. So again, yeah, it begs the question, if they're the ones that made the mod, why A, is it not out yet already, and B, why did they not actually just put it as a toggleable option in the base game? You know, I've said this on a number of occasions. Giants do so many things really well, and for everything they do really well, they do something stupid that completely undoes all the good work that they do. They make silly, strange choices that just make no sense whatsoever. And the camera mod is one of those silly, strange choices. Not having that as a base game option is just ridiculous. Linking tyre dirt and engine, vehicle damage, maintenance, etc., to the same thing Again, silly, stupid, lazy coding, in my opinion. Why those two are not completely separate, things, I don't know. Maybe they were just, being lazy. Maybe they were just running out of time and wanted to save a bit of time by not having to code them separately and just put them on the same bit of code. So as your vehicle gets dirty, it takes damage, and if you want to reduce how quickly it takes damage, you reduce how much dirt appears on your vehicle. Well, what about those who maybe want to tone the vehicle damage down a little bit but like having a lot of mud on their vehicles? Those players are completely screwed. Like I said, it's for everything they do right, they do something stupid or silly, or they just don't put something in, or they shortcut something that, undoes a lot of that good work. And it's frustrating sometimes trying to be a fan of Giants. It really is. Moss Frog says, and seasons as a toggleable option. Yeah, that's a completely separate thing. That is a mod that they don't have ownership of. They can't just include seasons in Farming Sim 17 because, all the code for seasons is owned by Realismus Modding. It'll be a mod and it'll be free, and it is being worked on, and it will be out on both PC and console at some point, hopefully not too far away. But they can't just throw seasons into the game without, working with Realismus. And maybe, Realismus didn't have the time to have that ready for launch. Maybe Realismus didn't have access to the game code early enough to even try and get that ready for close to launch. There's a whole number of things as to why that game doesn't have seasons yet. But Giants couldn't just put it in as a on-off option because it's a mod that they don't have ownership of. It's not like the for real mods that they own and are now part of the base game in 19. They don't own seasons, so they can't just throw it in for 19 as part of the base game because they don't own it. It's not theirs. It's not their code. Alright, I want a big tractor as well. That's medium tractors, isn't it? Let's get my quad track. There we go. Let's go with a... Oh, I'm out of cash already. Surprise, surprise. Jean-Luc says he really misses Toxicom's log fork. Yes, I do. That log fork was so much better than the base game one. Still had its issues. Still had a tendency to glue itself to logs from time to time. But, yeah, I missed that. That was much better at grabbing logs in general, and also for grabbing multiple logs as well. Do I want universal moldboards or do I want slatted? Choices. Let's go with slatted. Any news about mod maps on the horizon for Farming Sim 19? Well, funny you should say that. About 2 hours ago, I was trawling through the Giants forum on a post by Something on My Shoe 2. His map, Tombstone, has been submitted to Giants for testing. It's pretty much done. I haven't seen a confirmation because I haven't gone all the way through the thread yet, but I haven't seen whether that's definitely going to be made available for console users as well. But given that it's by Something on My Shoe 2, who was very heavily into playing on the PS4 for Farming Sim 17, and all of his maps, well, not all of his maps, but most of his maps for Farming Sim 17 made their way over to consoles. There's a good chance that Tombstone might well be the first console mod map that we see. Marwell Manor from Oxygen David is being tested by the testing team and will be submitted, I think, just after Christmas to Giants. So that'll go through on PC, and then, you know, maybe another month or so before we get that on consoles, depending on how much needs to be fixed and changed. Don't forget, this is the first time that guys are mapping for 19 as opposed to 17, so there's going to be issues and teething troubles with the code, and it's not going to be a nice, simple, straightforward kind of thing. There are going to be some failed attempts at getting through testing before we actually get a release. But that's a couple of maps that I do know of. I'm sure Alien Jim is working on something. I'm sure Bullet Bill is working hard on Cobra when he gets any kind of spare time. Beyond that, I don't know about anyone else yet. Apart from Whiteball Modding, are working on bringing the Hill of Slovenia to 19. Whether that's just for PC or whether that's going to be for consoles as well or not, I don't know. We do know as well, Black Sheep Modding are also working on an updated version of Old Stream as well for Farming Sim 19. So there are maps being made, being made and being worked on. How long it's going to take for those to come, who knows? It's how long is a piece of string at this point? You know, we just have to wait and see. We have that need to be patient again, and hopefully we'll get stuff. Oh, hey, Donny. Apparently, Mappers Paradise are looking to bring Welker Farms to 19. Maybe, apparently, according to their Discord. I thought they were looking at bringing out other stuff before they went back to working on Welker again. So, maybe. I mean, there was stuff that was supposed to be released. I mean, they still never released Ballymoon Castle for 17. I would have thought maybe that might be the first one that they try and bring over to 19 would be Ballymoon. But maybe Welker. Who knows? Bill has done a test of converting Lone Oak. Apparently there were a few things he wasn't happy with the map system. So I don't know what the situation is with that as to how long we'll have to wait for Lone Oak, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get Lone Oak on Farming Sim 19. That's pretty much a given. It's by far his most popular map, I think. Everybody I've spoken to has raved about Lone Oak. I don't know anyone who's ever had bad things to say about Lone Oak. There's been a few people who've been a bit, you know what, maybe not kind of thing, but I haven't heard anyone who's openly criticised that map. It was just wonderful to play on. Loved it. And pretty much everyone I've spoken to has had exactly the same reaction to it. Right, what else do I need to get done? I think in terms of the actual terraforming and base building for this particular stream, that's all kind of done. I've got a little bit of equipment in over here now. I might start working on this field. In fact, I wonder, can I maybe play about a bit more with the terraforming? We've got various different textures that we can play about with, and I'm wondering if we have a field texture. Let me see. Let's get next to a field. Let's move close enough away. So we've got a kind of a weird muddy kind of texture. Almost looks a little bit shiny. That's our basic ground texture. That's an animal print texture, so we could actually put that down for cows. inside. Yeah, I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to put that inside our animal pens. So where is it? There it is. In fact, let's go with a rounded tool. A kind of shiny-ish kind of look. Let's see what it looks like up close. I don't want it to be just a blob that fills the entire thing. I want it to be kind of a little bit patchy, but certainly on areas of high foot traffic for the animals, around the food troughs, etc., in and out of the doorways over here. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad actually. Oh, they're regular footprints by the look of it, rather than... Are they animal footprints? There's got to be a mixture of animals and cows and people in there by the look of it. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad in here. It's not completely dominated in here. Got like the heavy traffic areas for animals moving in and out. Yeah, I quite like that in there. Let's do the same in the other one. Let's put some mud in here. Oh, we've got a little bit of... I thought we got rid of all that. A little bit of concrete left in there. So let's try and be a little bit more sparing with this one. Maybe rough up the edges of our grass area a little bit as well. That's the wrong... There we go. So I want some high traffic area around the troughs and around the side door to the shed there. Let's go with a larger tool for this area. Again, we've got a big loading area over there. Shrink the tool down a bit. There we go. So with the right lighting, it actually looks pretty good. It looks a little bit weird without the right lighting. If we had overhead lights in here that worked, it would probably look a lot better. It's just weird the way the light catches the mud pool reflections. It almost looks like someone's painted some PVA glue on something and then just left it to dry. And you try and peel off these thin layers of PVA glue. Is this on PS3? No, this is on PS4. PS3 hasn't had Farming Simulator since Farming Sim 15. And won't. It's just way too limited. 15 on PS3 was very limited in comparison to on the PS4. Same with the Xbox 360 compared to the Xbox One. Incredibly limited. No multiplayer. And that was 2 versions of the game ago. They didn't do one for 17, and they won't ever going forward. I mean, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 don't even exist anymore. Neither of those machines are being made anymore. So, yeah. developers aren't going to be making big, big plans to publish on those platforms anymore. Right. Yeah, okay. I'm kind of happy with what we've done so far. I may revisit the grass in here. I want to leave it like that for now, but I may rough it up a bit, patch it up a bit as well. Maybe drop in little spots of dirt and mud in places, so it's not just this blob of neatly cut grass like that.